Elena used to be the kind of woman who filled rooms with laughter. People gravitated toward her. Friends, colleagues, strangers at the cafe where she ordered her morning cappuccino. She was 30, ambitious and unstoppable, working long hours as a marketing strategist in a rising tech firm. Life was moving fast, and she loved the rush. Then came Marcus. He wasn't loud or flashy. He was smooth. His charm was quieter, deliberate. He had this way of looking at her, as though she were the only person in the room. Their first date stretched into sunrise. 3 weeks later, he had a toothbrush in her apartment. 6 months after, a ring on her finger. Everyone said it was a whirlwind romance, a love story. But love doesn't isolate you. It doesn't slowly erase you. Started small. "Elena, do you really trust Claire?" he asked once casually, after she'd spent the evening out with her best friend. "She seems jealous of you. Toxic even. I don't like how she talks about us." She laughed it off at first. But the next time she called Claire, Marcus was distant for hours. Days later, Claire stopped texting altogether. Then came the concerns about her work. "You're working late again. Elena, those people don't care about you like I do. I worry you're burning yourself out." He began picking her up from the office, uninvited but smiling, and at first, it felt sweet, protective. It wasn't until he demanded to know her lunch plans, her co-workers' names, her passwords, that the unease started creeping in. By the time she realized the cage was closing, she'd already stepped inside. The trigger came the day she told him she'd been promoted. Vice President of Marketing. Came with travel, conferences, meetings in other cities. He smiled when she told him, but his eyes didn't. "You'd leave me," he whispered that night, almost to himself. "You'd choose them over us." 3 weeks later, she woke up in darkness, the metallic taste of fear in her throat. The last thing she remembered was drinking the tea he'd handed her, saying, "You deserve to relax tonight." Elena's world became 8 feet by 12. Concrete box beneath the house. The basement smelled of damp earth and mildew. The ceiling sagged low enough that she could press her palm flat against it. A single light bulb hung above her bed, a stained, thin mattress with its stuffing spilling out, and it clicked on and off on a timer only Marcus controlled. There was a bucket in the corner, the stench unending. Days blended into months. Months bled into years. He brought food once a day. Always different times. Sometimes in the morning. Sometimes at night. Sometimes not at all. She never knew when he'd come, and that was the point. He wanted her hollow. The psychological torture. "Do you know why you're here?" Marcus would ask, his voice smooth, almost tender. "You're sick, Elena. Out there you were losing yourself. They would have taken you from me, filled your head with lies. Saved you. One day you'll understand." He read her old diaries aloud, the ones he'd stolen from her childhood bedroom. "You wanted to travel the world. You thought you'd change lives. Look at you now." Sometimes he'd sit at the top of the stairs, telling her about his life. "Had dinner with Tom and Sarah tonight. They miss you, of course. I told them you ran away." Poor Elena. Couldn't handle the stress, vanished without a trace. They all believe it. The world thought she was dead, or worse, forgotten. The physical torture. Marcus never screamed. He didn't rage. His cruelty was precise, patient. Once, after she begged for water, he made her stand in the far corner for 12 hours straight. "Prove you deserve it," he said, watching from the stairs. His silhouette a dark cutout against the weak light. Her legs gave out twice. The third time, he locked her in darkness for 3 days without food. Winter was worse. He'd open the small basement window to the freezing air, leaving her shivering under the thin blanket until her fingers went numb. But she adapted. She endured. The fortress within. Somewhere around the 2nd year she stopped crying. She found a jagged stone buried in the dirt wall and used it to scratch tiny lines into the concrete. Days became marks. Marks became weeks. Weeks became years. She recited entire books she remembered. Pride and Prejudice, The Count of Monte Cristo, to herself word by word, scene by scene, until they were etched into her mind. She relived summer walks with Claire, the smell of her father's aftershave, the feel of sunlight on her skin. Elena became patient, quiet watcher. She stopped being prey. It was the 7th winter when the storm came. A violent blizzard knocked out the power. The hum of the generator sputtered and died. Marcus cursed as he ran outside, boots thudding overhead. Elena noticed immediately. The basement door. He'd locked the top bolt but forgot the lower one. She waited until his footsteps faded. Her heart thudded like a drum in her throat. From under the mattress, she pulled out the piece of wire she'd stolen years ago from the rusted bed frame. For 7 years, she'd practiced on the tiny lock securing the bucket lid, learning the dance of metal against metal. Her hands trembled, but muscle memory took over. Click. Then another. The door creaked open. Through the house. The hallway upstairs was unrecognizable. New furniture. New photos. Pictures of Marcus smiling alone. The portrait of a widower who'd moved on. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like a gunshot. Her bare feet were silent, but her breath betrayed her, shallow and ragged. The front door loomed ahead, but the deadbolt needed a key. She knew where he kept them, the kitchen. Next to the living room. Next to him. She crept forward. Marcus was asleep in his armchair, TV murmuring softly. The keys hung from a hook by the counter. Elena reached out. The keys jingled. Marcus stirred. Her entire body went cold. She froze, breath caught, eyes locked on his face. Silence. He shifted, muttered something and sank back into sleep. She slid the key free. The world beyond the door. The deadbolt turned with a soft click. Elena stepped into the night for the first time in 7 years. The cold slapped her skin raw, but she welcomed it. Streetlights blazed like suns after years of darkness. The wind carried scents, pine, gasoline, wet asphalt, that overwhelmed her senses. Car passed. Its headlights caught her hollow face, and for a moment, she was sure it would vanish like a hallucination. She stumbled across the yard, barefoot, the snow slicing her feet. At the neighbor's house, she pounded on the door, her voice breaking free from her chest. "Help me!" The door opened. Gasp. Warm light spilling into the night. Elena collapsed forward, sobbing. Not from fear, not from pain, but from the unbearable weight of freedom. Somewhere behind her, Marcus still slept in his armchair, dreaming of control he no longer had. Elena was gone. And the world would never be silent again.